ng sakit. Pangalawa, kung ang sakit ay nakuha mo dahil exposed ka sa mga health risks na ito. At pangatlo, kung nagkasakit ka kahit na sinusunod mo naman ang safety measures and precaution ng kumpanya. Samantala, meron naman tayong tinatawag na excepting circumstance o yung mga pagkakataon na hindi ka pwedeng mag-claim ng easy benefits. Kung ikaw ay lasing o lango sa alak o drugs habang nagtatrabaho at naaksidente ka, no yan. Hindi ka rin pwedeng mag-claim ng ECP kung ikaw ay nagpabaya o notoriously negligent ka kaya ka na-aksidente o nagkasakit. Halimbawa ay ang hindi pagsunod sa safety precautions ng kumpanya o hindi pagsuot ng protective gear. Hindi rin valid ang claim kung sinasadya mong saktan ang sarili mo o ang iba na naging sanhi ng aksidente o sakit. Bad yun! Laging tandaan na safety should always be your first priority kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sa trabaho. Kapag aksidente di maiwasan, don't worry! Andyan ang ECC to help you! For more information, pumunta lang sa pinakamalapit na ECC office sa inyong lugar. Remember, kahit may ECC, lagi ka pa rin mag-ingat ha!
Ang safety and health sa trabaho ay ating karapatan.
Ang safety and health sa trabaho ay ating responsibilidad.
Ang pagiging safe and healthy sa trabaho ay ating priority.
Ang safety at health sa trabaho ay para sa ating mga mahal sa buhay.
Para sa pamilya,
Dapat iwas sakit at disgrasya.
Pagligtas at malusog sa trabaho,
Pamilya ang panalo.
The Philippines is a home for more than 900,000 business enterprises and almost 8 million skilled and talented workers. To help these enterprises become competitive while ensuring the protection of workers' rights and benefits, the National Wages and Productivity Commission and the 17 regional tripartite wages and productivity boards, recreated in July 1989 through Republic Act 6727 or the Wage Rationalization Act. The NWPC at the national level acts as an advisory body to the President and Congress on all matters pertaining to wages, incomes, and productivity. The RTWPBs, on the other hand, are mandated to fix minimum wages from private sector and promote productivity and improvement at the regional, industry, and enterprise levels pursuant to policies and guidelines issued by the NWPC. At the same time, the NWPC and the RTWPBs are also mandated under Republic Act 6971 or Productivity Incentives Act to provide technical assistance to enterprises and the development and implementation of productivity improvement programs. Our vision: justly remunerated and productive Filipino workforce in globally competitive enterprises. Our mission: set minimum wage that protects workers' welfare, promote enterprise and workers' productivity. To realize the vision and mission, the NWPC and RTWPBs are implementing the following programs. First is a policy shift to adapt the two-tiered wage system, which provides for the mandatory minimum wage and voluntary productivity-based pay. The TTWS framework defines the space from the minimum wages as above poverty threshold but lower than average wage. While for the second tier, the NWPC encourages and enables workers and enterprises to implement productivity improvement and performance incentivizing scheme. To support these, the NWPC and the 17 regional boards nationwide are implementing the Productivity Toolbox, a ladderized, needs-based approach to productivity improvement for MSMEs. It is a package of training and technical assistance designed to help MSMEs grow, expand, and become viable enterprises, creating more employment opportunities and additional income for our workers. Beneficiaries of the training programs can join the Productivity Olympics, a biennial national competition of the best productivity improvement practices from micro, small, and medium enterprises. To popularize these programs and educate clients on wages and productivity, the NWPC and RTWPBs are implementing a rigorous public awareness campaign to the Kaalaman sa Kita at Kakayanan program, which includes public information assistance, development and dissemination of IEC materials, learning sessions, lectures, seminars, and mass media campaign. As the needs of the enterprises and workers change, the NWPC and RTWPDs are also continually promoting programs and policies on wages, incomes, and productivity that are to help drive the economic growth and improve productivity and competitiveness of the country.
mama. Andyan lang, mama. Mic check.
Ingon nila, life is all about second chances. O kung natagaan ka ni, seize the moment. Kini ang istorya ni Trump. He struggled, he never gave up, And he succeeded.
Matira gihapon ta bisag lisod matumba man gani kahalabarog kay kaya ratanan basta kita maring kamot agwanta lang mo abot ra ang panahon.
Bay, Ray Ubando o naila sa pangalan ni Trump. Bay, yun sa mo pagsulod ani o pagsugod ani nga field?
Trabaho ko sa usa ka kumpanya as graphic artist. Nakakuan man ko, nakaamigo man ko og tattoo artist. Related man pud sa ako ang trabaho as graphic artist. Nag-start kog tattoo mga 2017.
Born from a family of farmers, Ray Marty Villanueva Ubando, or Tram, have dreamt of a better life for him and his family in the quiet city of Ozamis. After 8 years of being a working student, employed as a waiter by night, he graduated and landed a job as a graphic artist at a local tarpaulin printing company. Little did he know that in that very establishment, he would meet the love of his life, Richelle.
Nagpahimo siya sa amoa og tarpaulin, so dito siya nako naila. Pagka 2012, niyanhi ko dire, kinanabaho ko dire, then siya na po niya apas dire. Basta ang amoa, among dala lang dire is malita ra gyud.
With a suitcase full of hope and dreams, which they shared together, the couple began an online selling business.
Wala na may kadaganan dire. Then ang among mga gamit, amo ang baligya as pre-lab sa kanang among mga sinuotan, amo na lang gibaligya sa lain through online.
So, kumusta man itong business? Ko matubay, kilambo ba to?
Dili gud ingon siya na successful ang amo ang business. Sunal siya, mingaw kaayo siya. Dili pa gud ingon na sikat gud sa social media.
Despite the letdown, Tram, together with Richelle, never gave up on their dreams of one day building a house and making a home together. In time, they found their luck in Tram's new endeavor as a tattoo artist. With much encouragement from Richelle, Tram excelled in his newfound passion. He would win competitions one after the other, and more clients began to flock in. As months went by, however, Tram would begin to feel the burden of using substandard equipment and inks.
Malangan ka kay magpaayo pa kag machine apoy uban na unya na naay magpa-schedule nya karon na ang schedule na mo balibad ko na pwede ugma na lang kay ang akong machine ako pang gipaayo.
This may have proven to be very challenging for Tram, but nothing could have prepared him for his life's most painful chapter.
6 months pa to siya mag-7 iyang tiyan. Nangumpra pa may og mga stocks. Udto, pagka alas 5, sakit man ka iyang ulo. Sa ako nang gidagan sa ospital. Kuan na ay nimbuto sa iyang diri na part sa iyang ulo. Mao na dito nagkos sa iya og coma.
It was tragic for Tram when his unborn child died. Still, he prayed for a miracle. But after a week of intensive care, his partner Richelle would pass away as well. This took a toll on him. Days turned to months, and Tram finally decided to fulfill the dreams he once started with his partner. And when news of DOLE X's livelihood program reached him, he found the motivation to go on.
Dali ra kay ang proseso, nagrant dayon kon as kuan nila as part sa ilang livelihood program.
On September 17, 2019, DOLE X helped Tram to live life anew with a livelihood assistance worth 20,000 pesos. This allowed him the purchase of a state-of-the-art tattoo pen machine and a whole set of special inks. These upgrades dramatically improved his workflow, brought back his enthusiasm, brought back all the customers and more, and enabled him to regularly pay for his shop's rental and buy a top-of-the-line tattoo bed and armrests. DOLE X's assistance, coupled with Tram's hard work, also paved the way to the birth of other business ventures. Among these are a t-shirt and mug heat press machine, which he bought using the profits he had made in recent months. A computer that he can use in tattoo designs and other projects that he has been accepting lately. Plus a newly opened eatery, which is proof of his perseverance. With DOLE X's constant guidance, Tram has secured all the necessary permits for his business, attended various workshops initiated by the Mindanao Association of Tattoo Artists, and most importantly, created jobs for the community.
Akong pasalamatan sa gyud si Tram. Siya yun ang nagbira gyud sa kuha nga mainani gyud ko. Kay kung dili pod siguro tungod sa iya hapon, dili po ko maplastar dari.
Matidabangon si Tram, maayo nga agalon. Nakabalay. Nakakuan kong balay, nakabuhat kong balay. Ay tindahan, nakapitindahan ng gamay. Katabang po sa pag-eskwela sa akong anak.
Kalimutan ang nakaraan, takbo'y babalik sa umpisa. Mga pangitan na badaan, lahat yun ay itatapon ko na.
Today, Tram is set to strive even harder to expand his business. Among his personal goals is acquiring a 4-head embroidery machine, a delivery truck, and other assets to facilitate his many ventures, and a PhilJEPS registration for his printing business.
Ang akong improvement karon is tuloy-tuloy ang ako ang trabaho. Dili na ka maguban. Kung naay maglinya dira na laing kliyente, pwede ra makahulat dayon. Kuan nang ako ang sakyanan na motor. Kuan pa man ka ito siya. Kanang karon ako nang gi-modify, gi-upgrade na nako siya.
And I'm sure na kay gusto isulti sa DOLE X.
Na-change gid ako ang life. Nakakuan, ang ako ang mga pangandoy sa una na dili pa gyud nako ingon na maabot. Nagrant na gyud nako karon hinay-hinay tungod sa DOLE.
Og sa imong partner in heaven?
Lang kanang asa mga karon lang nakuha na nako ang starter kit sa DOLE unta na kabayan lang gyapon ko nimo para mulambo pa gyud ni ug maayo ang ako ang gisugdan bisag ako na lang isa may nagpadayon.
In life, the only permanent is change. Murag tattoo. Whatever happens, we just need to believe to succeed. Kang Tram, who never stop believing, ayos ka bay.
Sama tayo at walang mag-iwanan. Kung may problema, tayo lang di naman ang magtutulungan.
It can be quite difficult when our dreams are faced with trials and our passion is met with challenges. Tram's life journey is a clear vindication that there is always hope when one reaches out for it. It only takes some courage, faith, and a helping hand. The Department of Labor and Employment Region 10 is both honored and humbled by each opportunity to be that helping hand. A friend who will always be there to remind those who once fell to stand and continue to make their dreams a reality.
Sama tayo at walang mag-iwanan. Kung may problema, tayo lang di naman ang magtutulungan. Di pwedeng may maiiwan, lahat kasama pag may kasiyahan. Kaya sama tayo na parang magbabarkada lang.
bonggang kabuhayan. Paano nga ba nagsimula ang samahang may tuturing nating one of Cagayan de Oro's most dynamic and inspiring teams sa larangan ng beauty and fashion? Mga higala, let's watch this.
For a little more than a year now, Team Omega has become a one-stop shop for beauty and fashion in the city of Golden Friendship. From initially offering hair and makeup services, the group has now ventured into wardrobe rentals, fashion design, and events management. With immense help from the Department of Labor and Employment Region 10, the group has continued to grow in skills and in manpower as a registered team under DOLE X's Workers Association since 2018. With DOLE X's constant guidance, they continue to improve their craft, create more jobs, and be a true inspiration to the community.
Wow, very impressive naman. Iba talaga ang Team Omega. So mga kadole, joining us today is the founder of Team Omega, Gigi Aisa. Hi, good morning and welcome to Bonggang Kabuhayan.
Hello, Jam.
So, paano nga ba nag-start ang Team Omega?
Mag-upat mi kabarkada nga mga makeup artist. Then, na-realize na mo nga gusto na mo i-share, i-impart na mo among knowledge para sa mga younger generation nga mo train para sa ilaha. Then, nice nun po ang feedback. Daganday willing. Motong na-born ang Team Omega.
So, Miss G, through the years, ano ba yung mga trials na napagdaanan ng Team Omega?
Grabe ka humble beginnings kid kay Jam. Kay even mag-entertain mi client sa balay. Mag-rent pa mi og hotel para dito na mo itipok among mga clients. Sa beauty industry man god, first impression really counts.
As the Team Omega family grew over the years, so did the number of very satisfied patrons. Highly positive feedbacks from their customers only brought in more and more new clients to the newly formed group. Team Omega was overwhelmed. The demand was great, but their limited resources could only do so much.
Tirik na ang araw sa Cagayan de Oro City na nasalanta ng bahang dala ng bagyong Sendong kagabi.
With just barely a year after the group was founded, Team Omega faced one of its biggest challenges, the wrath of Typhoon Sendong. The powerful storm left Cagayan de Oro in ruins. Most of Team Omega's tools and properties were destroyed. Hope in starting over was quite bleak. Despite the odds, the men and women of Team Omega stood up. It was difficult and slow, but they picked up the pieces to dream again.
So, Miss G, tell us more, paano ba nakatulong ang DOLE X sa Team Omega?
Kabulo ka Jam, blessing from God good. Nag-apply mi sa DOLE X, na-approve, then we were granted 500,000 pesos.
On December 2018, through its integrated livelihood program, DOLE X granted Team Omega an assistance of 500,000 pesos. This afforded the team to purchase much-needed upgrades and equipment, from high-end makeup and brushes to appropriate lighting fixtures and vanity chairs. The assistance has also enabled the group to finally rent a decent workplace. As part of DOLE X's commitment to helping employment-generating groups acquire essential skills development, DOLE X provided Team Omega with trainings through the help of TSSD, DTI, and other multinational companies.
Best of all, ang kaning gigan sa amo sa DOLE X, naka-add gid siya og improvement sa among other passion, which is fashion designing.
With newfound vigor, Team Omega ventured to other forms of artistic services. From clothing rentals, the team has now progressed to designing and creating gowns and suits to making highly elaborate costumes for any occasion.
And alam nyo ba na ang Team Omega created more jobs para sa community? Let's watch this.
What started out as a dream by 4 friends or 4 Amegas has now become a DOLE-supported endeavor employing about 29 talented individuals with an additional 6 in training. Team Omega has also provided scholarships to 2 of its members.
Mapa-eskwela na ako kung galingon. And at the same time, matagaan ako o maayong pamuyo ang akong mga igsuon. Ang kaayon na gayhatag sa kuha sa Team Omega, ako nang nahatag pod sa uban.
2 of Team Omega's employees are persons with disabilities. One is an amputee who is a very creative makeup artist, and the other is a polio victim who is now working as a purchaser. The team also gives employment opportunities to senior citizens.
Doon ako'y tulo ka anak, tapos napahuman ako pagpa-eskwela, gumikan sa Team Amiga.
Sa akong kondisyon, lisod ka yung trabaho. Pero ang Team Amiga, salig sa ako. Sa una, sugod ko, messenger. Karoon po sa ako.
Dako kayong natabang sa Team Amiga sa akong kinabuhi. Pagsakit sa akong papanhan, ang Team Amiga na ang nagkuhan sa ako. Dako kayong tabang sa ako.
To date, along with the regular income, all of its employees are provided with SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig benefits, with a standby health and burial assistance to its members readily available. The team has also donated starter kits to aspiring makeup artists and has given free training workshops all over Region 10. As part of its mentorship program, the team has produced 235 local and national beauty queens and is now currently grooming the official candidate of Cagayan de Oro in the Miss Universe Philippines 2020.
If there is one legacy nga gina-uphold sa Team Omega is sharing the skills and the expertise to the younger generations. Kanang mapadayon ang love for the craft to the new breed of makeup artist.
One of our core values is teamwork. Tungod sa among collaborative efforts, nabuhat ug nakabot namo ang among gituhuan nga imposible. Kay sa Team Omega, we are not just a team, we are family.
Wow! Ang galing naman! Iba talaga pag nag-vote in ang Team DOLE 10 and Team Omega. So, Miss G, I heard na nag-level up daw kayo.
Tama gid jam, nag one-stop shop na ta. Sa karon nga panahon, ka-into events na mi. Before provide lag mi og mga dress dito pageant. Pero this time, kami na gid ang handle. Before, provide mi og entourage, wedding gowns. Karon kami na gid ang ga-coordinate og weddings. Empowering kayo ang gihatag sa amon sa DOLE 10 na boost gyud ang among self-confidence. Mga butang nga dili gani namo ma-imagine before, ginabuhat na namo karon.
Team Omega is determined to do more. To do this, it is now working on group registration to the PhilJeps to increase the reach of the team to the government sector and other regions in the country. It is also eyeing to be registered as a DOLE accredited co-partner to extend help to more people, especially the less fortunate.
Lami ka sa pamati that you can pay it forward nga ang natabang sa amo sa DOLE 10 natabang po namo sa ubang tao.
In other words, more exciting days for Team Omega. So, unsa baba ka ang dapat natong atangan para sa Team Omega with the help of DOLE 10. Watch out for that in the next Bonggang Kabuhayan. Magtiwala sa sarili mo.
A reward on its own. There is no greater joy on earth than in finding meaning in giving. To our friends at Team Omega, we commend you. You have proven that this world can be better when we help one another. Rest assured that the Department of Labor and Employment Region 10 is with you every step of the way in further realizing this laudable advocacy.
the Department of Labor and Employment, Northern Mindanao, joins the entire country in the 87th founding anniversary of DOLE. The Department of Labor and Employment Region 10 was able to provide financial assistance to 29,000 workers in the formal sector amounting to 149 billion pesos, 7,500 informal sector workers under the TUPAD program amounting to 47 million pesos, 250 overseas Filipino workers amounting to 2.5 billion pesos. And for this simultaneous virtual payout, Northern Mindanao has 3 venues, particularly in the provinces of Bukidnon, Lanao del Norte, and in the city of Cagayan de Oro, with an amount of 22.6 million pesos benefiting 3,773 beneficiaries. Mabuhay po ang Department of Labor and Employment.
That our agencies can work on for more months, because I believe it's really over in a few months, and we just hope that we have all the energy and the passion and commitment to do the service to our countrymen. So thank you very much, and mabuhay again from the Department of Tourism. Our wishes to DOLE. Happy anniversary. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Memorial Mindanao Incorporated Association of Philosophers in not only in Mindanao, particularly in Northern Mindanao. We are very much grateful na recognize me as a group, as an entity by the Department of Labor and Employment Region 10 to be the recipient of this CAMP2. Daghang salamat, Department of Labor and Employment Region 10. Countless gratitude.
Being together as one family is very, very essential from those material things that we can have. Ngayong Pasko kami ng tanan, so happy 87th anniversary sa ating tanan. Enjoy the
mga manggagawa ang siyang dahilan na mamahal at namumuhunan, nagtutulungan upang magtagumpay.
Pag-unlad natin ang ating tugon, pangkabuhayan dapat isulong, kababayan kong handang tumulong, ngayon, bukas at habang panahon. Tayo'y magkaisa sa diwa at gawa.
isip nitong ating bansa. Maglilingkod, magtatanggol, lumilingap saan man naroon. Tayo'y magkaisa sa diwa at gawa, laging sa isip itong ating bansa. Tayo'y magkaisa sa diwa at gawa, laging sa isip itong ating bansa. Laging sa isip itong ating bansa.
T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Passion of Christ.
Pleasant morning to all. The Department of Labor and Employment convergence of programs through DOLE 10 and its attached agencies, namely the Regional Conciliation and Mediation Board 10, Occupational Safety and Health Center 10, Employees Commission Compensation Commission 10, and Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board 10 welcome you all who are viewing and participating in today's webinar session. We are on our first of the 2 sessions of this webinar series held live through Zoom and our official LEES Facebook page. I'm Mardy May Velez-Caling, Labor and Employment Officer of DOLE 10, and I will be your moderator for this session. Times have changed the way we conduct our anticipated 4th Labor and Employment Summit. Just like all other summits and conferences, we are now being converted into an online virtual experience. The DOLE Region 10's 4th Labor and Employment Summit is no different. From the traditional face-to-face format, just like in its time of conception in 2017, this year's summit is encapsulated into 2 gainful online webinar sessions. The Department of Labor and Employment Regional Office 10, through its Regional Tripartite Industrial Peace Council, Northern Mindanao, is committed to ensuring that there are continued opportunities for professional development and connection within the region. While COVID-19 unfolds as the biggest health crisis, it is vital to take time out to review and share the experiences and lessons learned to date. We also aim to bring together the experts to think through the available relevant topics and discuss the next steps in exploring the best ways forward to sustain industrial peace in Northern Mindanao. Before we start, we would like to remind all participants that questions will be answered during the open forum after the presentation of each topic. All participants are requested to fill up the feedback form with the link provided in your chat box. Kindly fill out this form with your full name per your registration details, as this will be our basis for your e-certificate of participation. The certificate will be emailed to you through the email address you provided upon presentation or registration to this webinar session. Your feedback will greatly help us improve our future webinar sessions. Now, at this point, to officially welcome us all, let me give you the OIC Regional Director of the Department of Labor and Employment Region 10, R.D. Albert E. Gutin. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Miss Mardy. Thank you very much. Maayong buntag sa atong tanan. Foremost, allow me to acknowledge the members of the Regional Tripartite Industrial Peace Council, Northern Mindanao, the Vice Chairperson for Labor, Sir Nicandro L. Borja, the Vice Chairperson for Management, Ma'am Vivian Lawansa. Also, the officers of the Northern Mindanao Federation of Family Welfare Committees, our chairperson. I was with her this week, Miss Orchilin Vasallo, the Vice Chairperson of the Family Welfare Committee, Mr. Jose Eric Baralla. We also with us in this webinar the officers and members of the Peso Managers Association in Northern Mindanao, headed by our president, Mama Kathleen or KitKat Sorilla. We are also joined by our president and officers and members of the Careers Counselors Association in Northern Mindanao, of course, headed by our president, Mama Eleanor Yap Buot. I also would like to acknowledge the members of the Department of Labor and Employment Regional Coordinating Committee. And I believe on board are our RCC members from the National Conciliation and Mediation Board, from the Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board, the Employees Compensation Commission, the Occupational Safety and Health Center, the National Labor Relations Commission, the NCMB. I believe with us also are our RCC members from the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, and the Professional Regulation Commission. So, to all the participants, my colleagues in the Department of Labor and Employment, our Assistant Regional Director, ARD Trel Pahalya, our TSSD Director, Director JB Vasallo, together with his staff, and of course, the regional focal manager or regional focal person of this activity or event, Mr. Glenford Labial, our provincial directors in the 6 provincial offices, the technical staff, our participants, our partners, maayong buntag sa tanan. My congratulations to the organizers and the team for conducting this webinar with the theme, The Virtual Experience, 4th Labor and Employment Summit, with selected and relevant topics to be discussed by our competent colleagues, particularly our COVID Adjustment Measures Program and the Tulong Panghanap Buhay sa ating Disadvantaged or Displaced Workers, or TUPAD, or what we commonly called as Emergency Employment Program. And these two programs are the enrolled social amelioration program of the Department of Labor and Employment to address, under the Bayanihan to address the effect or the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially the formal and the informal sector workers affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. We will also be sharing with you the latest issuance of the Department of Labor and Employment, particularly Department Order number 215, series of 2020, or the rule amending Section 12 of Rule 1, Rules Implementing Book 6 of the Labor Code of the Philippines, as renumbered on suspension of employment relationship. So these are the three major topics that will be shared to our partners for us to be updated, or for us to be updated of what we have done in the Department of Labor and Employment for our clients and customers. So this will be my first engagement with you, being the chair of the Regional Tripartite Industrial Peace Council Northern Mindanao. but I humbly inform you that this is not my first time in Northern Mindanao. I was with this region as the Assistant Regional Director way back in 2015 until 2016 prior to my reassignment to SOC Sergeant, and then back to Zamboanga Peninsula region, and recently, prior to my transfer here in Northern Mindanao, I was the OIC Regional Director of DOLE Mimaropa. So, in behalf of the Regional Tripartite Industrial Peace Council and in behalf of the Regional Coordinating Committee of the Department of Labor and Employment, I welcome you to this webinar version number 3. And again, this webinar is part of our commitment to really provide you with the latest updates and issuances of the Department of Labor and Employment despite of this COVID-19 pandemic. And this is now the way we deliver our programs and services under this new normal. So I encourage you to ask questions and clarifications with regard to the topics to be discussed by my colleagues for us to be enlightened of the provisions of the objectives and the purpose of these identified topics. So again, welcome to this webinar version 3, and I commend and congratulate the organizers of this webinar. Thank you and good morning.
Tagad sa kay dili na ako ma-click ang Okay, now we're back. Thank you, Arnie Gutid, for your warm message. Now, before we get into the meat of our session, we would like to showcase the talent of the Northwestern Mindanao State College of Science and Technology of Tangub City, Misamis Occidental. Ladies and gentlemen, to perform the Alunan Zapin Maraya, we proudly give you the Sinanduloy Cultural Troupe. for the fabulous performance in Andaloy Cultural Troupe from Tangub City, Misamis Occidental. That certainly energized us for this morning session. The Department of Labor and Employment has implemented 2 programs under the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act 2. One is the COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program 2, or CAMP2, and another is the Tulong Panghanapbuhay para sa ating disadvantaged, displaced workers, or the TUPAD 2. These programs provide for formal and informal sector workers with financial relief necessary to mitigate the adverse impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, to give us updates on the CAMP2, let me call on the Senior Labor and Employment Officer of DOLE 10, Engineer Colsid Ray B. Tubiano. Morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to all the participants and viewers of this webinar. Yes, this will be very brief. Just to give an update on the CAMP2, we have reached actually 182% of the targeted workers who will benefit the 5,000 financial assistance. So as of December 10, yesterday, we were able to garner already around 71 workers that would total to 358 million, or 96% of the applications are already in process. And then out of these 358 million, we are already 100% utilization rate on our regular funding, and then 100% also on the education sector, and 82% on our tourism sector. So we are still on process for all the ongoing process for all the applications even today. So that's all for the camp update. Thank you and good morning to all.
Thank you, Engineer Tubiano. Now to give us updates on the implementation of TUPAD 2 for the informal sector, let us welcome Mr. Charlton James R. Busa, the Senior Labor and Employment Officer of DOLE 10. Sir James.
Good morning, everyone. To our viewers, good morning. On the other hand, for the TUPAD, or the Tulong Panghanapbuhay sa ating displaced and disadvantaged workers under the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, this is a safety net program of the department which provides temporary wage employment to our displaced workers, particularly the unpaid family workers who were displaced and whose earnings were affected due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And they will be earning as much as 6,000 per beneficiary in a span of 16 working days. And for DOLE Region 10, as of yesterday, December 10, 2020, we have paid 171 million, covering 29,317 beneficiaries, and obligated for payment, which is targeted to be paid today. We only have 13,640,000 left with 2,159 beneficiaries. So for our cash utilization, as of yesterday, we are at 99%. And with that, thank you very much and good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Busa, for the TUPAD updates. As we move on to the last topic of this webinar session, may we remind everyone that all questions will be entertained during the open forum. Now, to discuss Department Order 215, Series of 2020, on the rule amending Section 12 of Rule 1, Rules Implementing Book 6 of the Labor Code on suspension of employment relationship, May we give you the Director 2 and Chief of the Technical Support Services Division of DOLE Region 10, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Atheneus A. Vasallo. Sir, you have the floor.
Okay. Okay, thank you, March, for the introduction, and good morning to all viewers and participants of this webinar. And thank you for your participation. Okay. Okay. Excuse me. On presentation. Wala na dito. Okay. Okay. While waiting for our material for the presentation, we actually appreciate this initiative of the CMB, of course, in coordination with the regional office, the Department of Labor and Employment, because this is one way of delivering our services, actually, services of the Department of Labor, considering that we are still observing the protocols for the prevention of the spread of COVID in our respective workplaces. So to start, excuse me. Okay. Again, good morning. My task is to discuss Department Order number 215, series of 2020, issued on October 26 this year. The title of which is the rule amending Section 12 of Rule 1 of the rules implementing Book 6 of the Labor Code on suspension of employment relationship. Okay. Okay. I will be reading some of the provisions in toto, considering that these guidelines actually is very short. It's very short for clarity, of course, and better appreciation of the intention of these new guidelines. Well, the general intention of this amendment is actually to extend the temporary suspension of work as provided in Article 300 of the Labor Code from 6 months temporary suspension of employment to another 6 months, extension of another 6 months. So the provision of the amendment reads as follows. Section 12, suspension of relationship of the omnibus rules implementing the Labor Code is hereby amended as follows. The employee relationship shall be deemed suspended in case of suspension of operation of the business or undertaking of the employer for a period not exceeding 6 months, unless the suspension is for the purpose of defeating the rights of the employees under the code, and in case of mandatory fulfillment by the employee of a military or civic duty. So now in the amendment, it is now very clear that the management or the employer has the discretion or prerogative to suspend operation of the business, except when the purpose of the suspension is for defeating the rights of the employees. And of course, another is, which is actually permissible, the mandatory fulfillment by the employee of a military or civic duty. Now, the payment of wages of the employee as well as the grant of other benefits and privileges while he is on suspended employment or military or civic duty shall be subject to existing laws and decrees to the applicable individual or collective bargaining agreement and the voluntary employer practice or policy. Now, what is a general rule in case of there is suspension of employment or where there is no work. Now, the general rule under the labor code is that there is a no work, no pay shall apply in this case of suspension of employment. However, the Department of Labor, especially in this time of COVID, this pandemic, the Department of Labor has always been advising the employers, management, to let workers affected by the suspension to avail of their leave credits. Of course, there are some companies who are giving liberal or beneficial policy, like they are giving advances of salaries or advances of leaves in case there is suspension of work. Now, as long as the policy, the practice of the company is beneficial to the company, then that is permissible. Another provision provided in this in DO 215 is in case of declaration of war, pandemic, especially in this time wherein COVID-19 has been declared as a pandemic, and of course similar emergencies, the employer and the employees through the union, if any, or with the assistance of the Department of Labor and Employment shall meet in good faith for the purpose of extending the suspension of employment for a period not exceeding 6 months. So upon meeting of minds between the employer and the employee that there is a need to extend the suspension of employment after implementing the allowable 6-month suspension of work, if they see both parties sees the necessity to extend the suspension of employment, then under Department Order 215, this is allowed. Now, what is the prerequisite of this permissible extension of 6 months suspension of work is that there has to be a meeting of mind between the employer and the employee, meaning they have to mutually agree for the extension of suspension of employment. Now, the employer, if both parties now agreed for the extension of the 6 months temporary suspension of work, the employer shall report to the Department of Labor and Employment 10 days prior to the implementation of the extension of the suspension of work. So it has to be reported to the Department of Labor for the purpose of course, the Department of Labor to ensure that proper implementation has been agreed through verification or inspection. So that is the purpose that dapat i-report yun sa Department of Labor ang implementation of the extension of the suspension of employment. Second, the employees shall not lose employment if they find alternative employment during the extended suspension of employment. So 6 months has been implemented, suspension of employment has been implemented by the management, and then parties agreed to extend for another 6 months. So that would be 1 year of unemployment of the worker. So that by necessity, the worker has to find another source of income. So in this case, it does not mean that if he finds temporary employment, it does not mean that he is now resigning from his former engagement with his employer rather. Third, should retrenchment be necessary before or after the expiration of the extension of suspension of employment, affected employees shall be entitled to separation pay. So after the 6th month, there is another 6-month temporary suspension of work, and then the management within the period of the extension, the management decided to permanently close or permanently retrench his worker, then the workers affected will be entitled to payment of separation pay. Last, the retrenched employees shall have priority in rehiring. So in case there is now a final retrenchment, final termination of employment because the management has decided to close the operation. Now, of course, the workers are entitled to the payment of separation pay if they are entitled. And then if later management will decide, especially if the pandemic, if the COVID-19 will be remedied or will be addressed, then if they resume operation, then those retrenched employees will have priority in employment of the said company. So another provision is this notwithstanding by mutual agreement of the employer and the employees through the union, if any, or with the assistance of the Department of Labor and Employment, employees may be recalled to work or retrenched subject to the requirement of notice and separation pay anytime before the expiration of the extension of suspension of employment. So within the extension of the temporary suspension of work, when management decides to reopen, then management is required to notify the workers who have been temporarily laid off to report to work. Now, again, if management will decide to permanently close the establishment within the 6-month extension of the temporary suspension of work, then again another notice will be required for management to the affected workers of their termination or of their final termination of their employment, and of course payment of separation pay. The extension of suspension of employment shall not affect the right of employees to separation pay. The first 6 months of the suspension of employment shall be included in the computation of the employee separation pay. So the length of service, the 6 months temporary suspension of work shall be included in the counting of the length of service. Okay. Should there be no agreed extension, status quo prevails after the expiration of the 6 months employees. Now, in the first implementation of the 6 months temporary suspension of work, as mentioned before, there has to be an agreement. There has to be a meeting of minds between the management and the worker. Now, in case the worker will refuse to agree or does not agree on the extension of another 6 months extension of suspension of work, then management is obliged, after the first 6 months temporary suspension of work, management is obliged to recall the worker to report to work. So that is first. Second is, of course, after the 6-month period temporary suspension of work, then there will be no extension because where the worker will not agree on the extension, then management is obliged or responsible to pay the separation pay of the said worker. Now, what if the management will refuse to exercise any of the two alternatives? Management will not recall worker to report to work or does not pay the separation pay on the ground that the business is experiencing serious financial reverses. Then, in that case, the worker affected will have to go to the Department of Labor or the National Labor Relations Commission to ask for assistance or to file complaint. But of course, at this time, the Department of Labor, in any complaint, will subject the complaint to a conciliation mediation procedure under the single entry approach. So there is a 30-day conciliation procedure. Then after that, if there is no agreement or settlement, then that will be the time the complaint for claim for separation pay or reinstatement will be filed before the National Labor Relations Commission. So I think that's all for this Department Order 215. Of course, you can view this the guidelines sa DOLE Northmin Facebook, or you can call the regional office 858-1658 number, and or you can text through email, or you can email dole10.tsSDx@gmail.com. So thank you. That's all for the presentation. As I've said, it's a very short guidelines, but of course, very relevant in this time of pandemic. Thank you, Marge.
Thank you, sir. Before anything else, let me first acknowledge our partners who are viewing now. For the Regional Tripartite Industrial Peace Council of Northern Mindanao, viewing are its officers and members led by Vice Chairperson for Labor, Mr. Nicandro Borja, and the Vice Chairperson for Management, Ms. Vivienne Lawanza. Good morning. We also have the Northern Mindanao Federation of Family Welfare Committees. Viewing are the members and officers headed by the chairperson, Ms. Urchilin Vasallo, and the vice chairperson, Mr. Jose Eric Baralea. Thank you again, everyone, for actively viewing this webinar session. All right, now we proceed to the open forum. Our resource speakers are ready to answer your queries. Participants may now ask questions through the chat box. Kindly include your name and the name of your company, and reminding everyone to please keep your microphones on mute. Again, for those who have registered, please fill out the feedback form with the link provided in your chat box. Kindly fill out this form with your full name per your registration details, as this will be our basis for your name on the e-certificate of participation. The certificate will be emailed to you through the email address you provided upon registration to this webinar session. Your feedback will greatly help us improve our future webinar sessions. Okay, now let's go to the questions. Okay, first question is from Norilyn May Daming. Okay, this is for Engineer Tobiano. Tanong ko lang po sana, pwede po ba ako maka-avail sa CAMP2? First time ko po ito kasi buntis ako ng February. Start ng leave ko po, October pa to January. Nag-close po muna ang work due to COVID-19 at nagbalik naman po by June. Kaso bawal pa kami bumalik kasi buntis due to COVID-19 health and safety protocol. No work, no pay na po. Sorry. Sana masagot po katanungan ko.
Okay. Norilyn, actually you are qualified because your employment has been affected, meaning because of you were prevented from working because you were pregnant, and of course until now, if I'm not mistaken, wala pa ring trabaho. You are actually qualified to under this program. Now you should have told your employer to apply in behalf of you, because the application actually is being submitted by the employer in your behalf. So you can. Our dilemma now is that today is the last day of submission of the application. We were already instructed by central office because of the volume of the application. we were given until December 11 to receive application. Now you can still file your application through reports. Ask your employer through reports.dole.gov.ph. But as mentioned by Engineer Tobiano earlier, we were actually given the amount of 282 million for CAMP2. And then just yesterday, we already reported 100% fund utilization to our central office. Hopefully, the national government will infuse additional funds for this purpose. But as I've said, ask your employer to submit application today, because today is the deadline. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another question is from Irene Ungap. With regard po sa CAMP2, makakatanggap pa po ba yung mga may status na for evaluation? Yung 10 na una, nakatanggap na po kasi. Thank you.
When you receive the feedback in the system that your application is for evaluation, you should have contacted the Department of Labor and asked for the purpose of the evaluation, because as far as the evaluators are concerned, if your feedback is for evaluation, meaning there are deficiencies or there is deficiency in your application. So you still have today to call our office so that you can verify the discrepancy or the problem of your application. Thank you.
Another is from Levi Vale. Can dormitory and restaurant still avail the CAMP2? What are the requirements?
Okay. Has been affected because of the pandemic, meaning it's either their time of work has been reduced, or they may have been rotated because of we know the restaurants actually is very much affected of the pandemic. Medyo gigamay gud ang customers, of course. So kung nga na ang mga trabahante has to be rotated so that their employment will be preserved, then, and of course their salaries, their benefits has been reduced because of the rotation, because of the reduction of work hours or work days, then you are qualified actually. Again, let your employers apply for in behalf of you. You can go to our link, reports.dole.gov.ph, and today is the last day of the submission of the application.
Thank you, sir. Another question is from Precious Joy Galon Fabro. Mga regular lang po ba maka-avail sa camp? Paano naman po ang mga casual employees?
As long as your employment has been affected by the pandemic, it's either nag-rotation, nag-reduction of work hours or work days, or temporarily suspended ang employment, then you are qualified.
Next is from Baby Jonah. Hindi na po ba mag-double pay pag holiday dahil sa pandemic?
The holiday pay benefit is not actually suspended. So holiday pay, in case the worker will or you will work during holidays, regular holidays, and double pay. If a special holiday, if you work during special holiday, then there is an additional 30%. So the said premiums still applies during the pandemic.
Okay, next is from Irvin Genon or Henon Santillan. 6 days duty a week and 6 hours a day. Then salary-based lang sa per hour. Okay ra ba ni?
Well, what is being contemplated under the CAMP2 is that the benefits or your salary has been affected because of the COVID-19 or the pandemic. So if your regular working hours before was 8 hours, and then during the pandemic nahimog 6 hours, then you are qualified.
Okay, so next is from Grayshell Abayan. Good morning po. Tanong ko lang po if qualified po ako for Balik Pinas Pangkabuhayan Program. Unfinished contract po ako at hindi po pwede or hindi na po pwede makahanap ng bagong employer dahil sa pandemic. Kailangan na po umuwi sa bansa at makakabalik ulit after 2 years. Yan po kasi ang rule ng Hong Kong. Maraming salamat po.
Graciela, I would appreciate if the application for Balik Pinas is actually through OWA, although it is the regional office, the Department of Labor, who tenders the payment. I would appreciate if you go directly to the website of OWA and clarify the qualification of this benefit. I believe they are still implementing this program.
Okay, next is from Belga Buna. What about the OFW Balik Pinas due to pandemic? Is there a program or assistance for them?
Implementing the ACAP program. And again, the application is submitted through OWA. They evaluate the application, and then all approved application under the ACAP program of the OFW will then be forwarded to the DOLE Regional Office for payment. Thank you.
Another is from Sally Kabunok. If the company already received the first camp, can we apply for the second camp release?
We just received actually an advisory from our central office that all those who already received under the CAMP1 or the first camp can now avail or apply for the CAMP2. Yes, you just have to apply through online at reports.dole.gov.ph.
Okay, next is from Levy Valley. Sir, are all establishments or can all establishments avail CAMP2, even a computer center or computer center? Yes.
Because of the pandemic, meaning there is a reduction of work hours, reduction of work days, rotation, or temporary suspension of work. Because we all know that there are some establishments whose employment has not been affected because nag-full operation, like katong mga essentials. We can cite example katong mga pharmacies. So dili pwede kay, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, ang pharmacies ato are actually kanang full operation. And of course, kato mga food-based like although some groceries, kanang mga groceries na nag-rotation Japon. Now, as long as ang employment benefits of the worker has been affected because of the pandemic, meaning nag-reduce ang iyang benefits, then or salaries, then they can avail. Of course, the application is to be submitted by it will be the management or the employer who will submit the application.
Okay, next is again from Irene Ungab. Sino po pwedeng tawagan regarding camp concerns, sir? I am from Malaybalay.
You can call directly the focal person of the CAMP2, Engineer Sting Tubiano. We will post the number later, or you can also call Bernie Salinas, the Executive Assistant of the Office of the Regional Director. So these two persons, they will answer all your queries. We will post it later.
Okay, next is kanusa ang deadline sa application sa CAMP2?
Central Office that today is the deadline. So today is the deadline, but we have to inform everybody, our clients, that the allocation given to us in the amount of 282 million has been depleted, meaning 100% utilization ng regional office. But our regional director, Albert Gupi, must submitted a request for an additional funding for those pending applications. So we'll still be advising everybody, those qualified to submit your applications today.
Okay, another is from Belga Buna. As you said, the benefits will not be affected. What about the 13th month? It is based on our reduction of work, like 7 hours a day. Is this okay?
We all know that the computation of the 13th month pay is gross salary for the year divided by 12 months. So that if there is a reduction of work hours or work days, then of course, automatically the claim for 13th month pay will also reduce. Now, as I understand, the question is actually, are you qualified to apply for the CAMP2? If your normal working hours is 8 hours and then it is reduced to 7 hours, then you are very much qualified.
Okay, next is from Jonalyn Balbin. Nag-file po kami sa CAMP2. Approved na ang iba, pero may iba na hindi pa po, pero for evaluation na sila.
The regional office actually very happy that our central office has come up with a system for the application. So online ang application tanan, so that when we evaluate the application and then it is complete, automatically the system will give feedback to the applicants and inform the applicants that his or her application has been approved. Now, pag makatanggap kayo ng for evaluation, that means na there is a deficiency in your application. So we advise you to call either the provincial office of the Department of Labor, because in all provinces we have field offices, or you can call directly the regional office, which we will be posting later, ang contact number. So kung for evaluation, that has to be reapplied and to include the deficiency of the document.
Okay, next is from Norlin May Dami. Ma'am, paano kung hindi po naka-apply employer ko today?
Well, the general instruction to us is for management to apply in behalf of its workers. Now, we also accept individual application, provided that they will attach for a certification from the employer that una, na temporarily suspend ang iyang employment. So just a certification, or the worker is retrenched. Now, in case the management will refuse to issue the certification, then we will accept an affidavit of the worker certifying that his employment has been terminated, or his or her employment is temporarily suspended. So with the affidavit, so with the certification from the employer, then the worker will apply individually. Now, in lieu of the certification from the employer, pwede yapon ang affidavit executed by the worker that he or she has been terminated or terminated. Then attach it to the application, individual application.
Okay, and next is from Ivy May Priolo. Good morning po, clarification lang po. 6 work days kami before COVID. Tapos, nahimo na lang 5 days. 5 days work a week. Nag-apply mi sa CAMP2 pero wala na-approve. Naabtan o cut off, sir. Pero ni-apply mi SBWS sa SSS, naka-receive mi 2 times. Question, can we apply again sa CAMP2?
Yes, in a recent advisory of the Central Office of the Department of Labor, we were advised that we will still process applications under CAMP2 even if they have received the SSS or SBWS benefit from the SSS. So, pwede ka po maka-apply actually under CAMP2.
Okay, next. Sorry, sir. Oh, okay. So next is from Elton Alcalde. Good day. Tanong ko lang po, may matatanggap po ba ako na separation pay sa company kasi tinanggal nila ako due to performance during this pandemic? Thank you po.
Correct me. My understanding of the query is that si Elton was terminated due to performance appraisal. So meaning just cause for termination. Now, no, as a rule, if you are terminated or not the rule, there are two. By the way, there are two kinds of termination: the authorized cause or just cause for termination. Now, kung authorized, meaning there is retrenchment due to pandemic because losses of the company, then you are entitled to separation pay. But if your termination is due to performance, meaning very poor performance, and then the management has suffered because of your poor performance, then the company is actually the prerogative or the decision to terminate employment of the employee for under the just cause for termination. However, the company has to observe due process, meaning the company should have notified Elton of the poor performance and that Elton explain for the imputation of the management of the performance. Then after explanation, then management will have to decide if there is a basis for the termination for under the just cause. So Elton, if the management have followed that requirement, due process, and then it was found out that your poor performance has caused damage to the management, then you cannot claim separation pay.
Okay. Next is from, again, Levi Valles. Sir, may we know how much the employees can receive from CAMP2?
5,000 pesos. The same with CAMP1.
Next is from Gina Marie Pagarandia. Good morning, ma'am or sir. Do we need to wait for the feedback email, specifically the evaluation result from DOLE with regard to the status of our application, or we can make an inquiry whether or not our application was approved or denied?
If your application has already entered the system, automatically the system after evaluation, automatically it will inform you of the status of your application. But if you have not received the status through the system, then you can call. We advise you to call directly the field office, the provincial office of the DOLE, or the regional office.
Okay, next is from Ruby Ann Puzon. Good morning, sir. In connection with what you have mentioned, na if the employee received SBWS from SSS, they are still qualified to apply for CAMP2. We have received SBWS from SSS and we applied for CAMP2. However, we were denied because we are recipients of SBWS. Please enlighten us for. Thank you.
Yes, Ruby. Originally, sa start sa implementation nato sa CAMP2, late October, of course, November, we were starting processing already. The first instruction actually is to exclude beneficiaries of SBWS, of the SAP of the DSWD, and other those who have already availed of the assistance from other government agencies. But lately, as I've said, I think last week there was an advisory from the central office to include even those who have availed already of the BWS and even the SAP of the DSWD to apply under CAMP2. So in your case, if you were already denied in the early implementation of CAMP2, then you can still catch up today and reapply for the CAMP2. But again, I'd like to caution you we are actually asking for additional fund because the original budget that we received has already been depleted.
Okay, next is from Sally Capuno. Sir, is the CAMP application or can the CAMP application be applied by the employee personally or can only be applied by the employer? How about those employees who recently lost a job due to the company shutdown? How will they be able to apply for the CAMP?
They can apply individually, and they will just apply the notice of termination or notice of termination of their employer. It's either the notice of termination or the notice of shutdown of the company. They will apply to their individual application. But again, online gapon ang application nila through our system.
From Rosemary Lara, during CAMP1, large companies or companies were not all prioritized. Is it the same for CAMP2?
No, in CAMP2 actually all applications. What we did was for a first come first serve basis kay online man sa system man sa. So kung unsay mo abot sa system, unsang application, then we process it. Yes, it's true in CAMP1, considering nga gamay ra ang budget at the time, so the large companies were not actually prioritized, but of course there were some actually some large companies who actually applied as early as the second week of March, something na-process yapon sila. But this time, we can see in our data that many large companies has availed of the assistance. Ang kuan lang, ang qualification ng ani actually is that the salary of the worker should not be above 40,000. So kato mga minimum wage earner, like we have many kanang agriculture industries in Bukidnon, dagko kay, but of course their workers are only minimum wage earner. So kanas na apply, and we have processed their application also. We have processed their application for CAMP.
Okay, next is from Vilga Buna. We received the acknowledgement receipt from the CAMP through email, and we see that others are denied due to our wrong data input. Would you consider that we can re-entry those 4 corrections so that they can avail it too? And last, what about the employees who have no contact numbers, like they don't have phone or any phones? Can they still avail the CAMP? How will they be notified?
Katong nga denied, the company should reapply in the system. So if they were already informed of the deficiency, then they have to comply. Now, those workers who do not have cell numbers, or they have new numbers after applying for the CAMP, they can contact directly the HR, or the management can contact directly the number which we will be giving, which we will be showing you later, and inform this office that for the tracking, it's either the tracking number of the MWLIR, because payment is through MWLIR. They can ask, the management can ask for the tracking number of the MWLIR with this office, and they will be the one to contact their workers. We are now allowing that.
Okay, from Dondale de Lara. How about hospital and health services? Maka-apply me, sir, sa CAMP2?
Your employment has been affected because of the pandemic. Now we know ang hospital is one industry essential during this time, and of course in the early times of the COVID pandemic. As long as there is a reduction of your compensation, of your benefits because of the pandemic, meaning nag-rotation ang mga staff sa hospital, or because of to lessen the exposure of the virus, then that can be a ground for the qualification to qualify under the CAMP2 program.
Oh, I think that's the last question, but before we end, there's one acknowledgement from Raul Prima from Corio, Mindanao. Thank you, DOLE 10, for giving importance to our arts, culture, and entertainment sector. Corio, Mindanao, mabuhay ang DOLE 10. So let's proceed. And yes, that was our last question for this webinar session. We would like to thank everyone again for actively participating. We would also like to thank our resource speakers for accommodating the questions of our participants. As mentioned earlier, Series 3 is the virtual 4th Labor and Employment Summit here in Region 10. We only have 2 sessions for this summit. The second and the last session will be on December 18, 2020, and will be about jobs of the future, the skills of the new reality, with our returning resource speaker, Ms. Anne Christine Piña Redondo. Be sure not to miss next week's session, as our keynote speaker will be our very own Department of Labor and Employment Secretary, Mr. Silvestre H. Bellew III. To view the past webinar sessions, please visit our Facebook page, DOLE 10 Labor and Employment Education Services -LEES. For faster searching, you may search at DOLE X LEES on Facebook. Please also visit and like the DOLE Bureau of Relations Facebook page through www.facebook.com/Bureau of Labor Relations PH. The DOLE BLR is headed by Director Maria Consuelo S. Bacay. We would like to thank also our CMB 10 and their director, Attorney Ligaya R. Lumbay, for providing Zoom access during all the sessions for the DOLE 10 Convergence of Programs webinar series. We look forward to having all of you again next Friday. Please keep posted for updates on this through Facebook and the official DOLE 10 website. So thank you and take care, everyone. Have a pleasant weekend ahead.
Mga manggagawa ang siyang dahilan, namamahal at namumuhunan, nagtutulungan upang magtagumpay.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, your troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, my troubles will be miles away. Oh, here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years, we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star above the highest bough. And have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, your troubles will be miles away. Here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near once more. Through the years, we all will be together, if the fates allow. So hang a shining star above the highest bough. Have yourself a merry little Christmas.